going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Avalar. Here at the weigh-in in Leeds, Eddie Hearn joins me. Thanks for giving me some of your time. An eventful and an expected eventful weigh-in, as always.
Yeah, lively. I mean, tomorrow's going to be wild in the arena. What a brilliant fight, Warrington against Lopez. It's a very tough fight for Josh Warrington. It's going to be thousands and thousands of Leeds fans in there. We're going to have England playing at 7 o'clock in the arena. It's going to be a night to remember, and, you know, nervous for Josh because of what lays beyond it. You know, big unifications with Lee Wood, big fights in America, but he's got to come through Lopez. It's going to be very tough.
I know Lopez is experienced in his own right, but you know sometimes you see fighters come over and there's more lights and more cameras than before and they seem to be a bit shyer. He just seemed completely cool and calm, Lopez, as if he's here and he's here just to do a job.
Yeah, it feels a bit like Lara when he came over. You know, even though that was behind closed doors, Lara didn't seem fazed. He seemed very confident, and Lopez the same. Lopez comes with a lot more pedigree than Mauricio Lara. He's signed to Top Rank. He's very well regarded in America, and he's technically very good as well. Maybe not be the raw puncher of Mauricio Lara, but he can punch. He's spiteful, and also he's very good, and he's awkward, and he's tricky, and he's smart. And, you know, it's going to be a tough night for Josh Warrington, but I just feel like Josh, with his experience and, you know, with the big crowd behind him and his, like I said, that big match experience, I think he's going to come through.
Just a word on Ebony Bridges' way, and of course using it to push a OnlyFans announcement as well.
I think it's a great fight. You know, I think obviously Ebony's done things her way, but also let's not forget about the sacrifices she's making, the work that she's put in, and the improvement she's made. But she is fighting a seasoned world title, world level opponent in Shannon O'Connor, who's very, very confident going into this fight. And there's a little bit of, you know, there's history here, and not just history between them on social media, but Shannon, they're both from Australia, and Ebony would have seen Shannon over the years in big fights, you know, kind of like carrying the torch years ago for women's boxing in Australia. And Ebony's got to go out and be fearless and really give her no respect, walk her down and try and beat her up. And I really feel like that's going to be a fantastic fight from start to finish. A lot on the line, big unifications. Nina Hughes is here, obviously, after a great win against Jamie Mitchell, and ready to make some big fights. Shannon Courtney obviously returning on the card as well. And, you know, it's a big night for Ebony Bridges.
See, I know a lot happens on social media, but was you surprised, considering the verbals that they've had, that yesterday they both said we've actually never met each other?
No, and you know, I did a press conference between these two when it all started, and I couldn't believe they'd never met. You know, but like Shannon said, you don't have to have met someone to dislike them. You know, and Shannon doesn't like the way that Ebony Bridges has done things, and Ebony Bridges feels like she's got the right to do things how she wants. But like I said, there's a lot more to Ebony Bridges in terms of the sacrifices she's made and the improvements she's made under Mark Tibbs, and that's a very good fight. Ebony showed last time out she's a world-class fighter against Roman, but this is a tough fight, and I think it'll be a war. Felix
Cash, obviously, you should do a job on Saturday night, and then Amon Williams is in town, and we're looking for there to be a little bit of back and forth on fight night. Just obviously, I know they're both your fighters, so it's difficult. Who would you say goes into that fight as the favourite out of them two?
Felix Cash, because of the levels of win. I mean, you know, I know that Amo's beaten Conway and a good win last time out against Madsen, but I feel like Felix Cash has established himself as an elite middleweight. You know, you saw the job that he did on Denzel Bentley. It was a demolition job, and Denzel Bentley did so well recently against Janibek, you know, the world champion, and that shows you how good Felix Cash is. You'll see tomorrow night, I expect him to breeze through Neves, and then we want to build that fight. It's two world-ranked, undefeated, fantastic fighters. These are the kind of fights that we should be making. Amo Williams says, throw me in the deep end, I want to fight for a world title. Felix Cash believes he can beat Amo Williams. It's going to be a great build-up. Both electric guys, both, you know, guys who aren't afraid to speak their mind. And that is a really good fight between two excellent young middleweights.
Another person who's got world title ambitions, or one of the big four, as he told me yesterday, was Maxi Hughes. I know he told me he was here to speak to you because he's out of contract, and I can imagine you want the journey to continue because you love the Maxi Hughes train. Yeah,
and we had a good chat today. I mean, you know, Maxi's problem is he's done really well and he's unable yet to secure those big fights. I think we need to, you know, it's time to vacate that IBO title and move him up the world rankings with the other governing bodies to try and position him for a final eliminator. There is a fight that we're talking about for Maxi now, and you know, I just think it's a case of sometimes when you're chasing these big fights, you end up waiting too long and you become inactive. And I think the key now is to make sure we get him out in March or around that time in a fight to position him for a world title shot. You know, Devin Haney's not going to be at 135 forever. Those titles are going to become vacant, and we'd like to position Maxi into a position to challenge for a world title in 2023.
So there are so many big fights around at that weight. Will we kind of have to let go of the Ryan Garcia dream, I'll say, because he's got 2 fights and he's...
Yeah, we were close. I mean, look, they reached out to us on many occasions. We weren't able to make that fight. Obviously, he's got his own plans, but, you know, I feel like we just need to keep moving up the world rankings, keep winning. Maxi's doing everything that's being asked of him. You know, he's beating everyone that's being put in front of him, and I'm sure the journey will continue next year.
Just a bit of heavyweight talk. Any kind of updates on the Hrgovic IBF situation?
No, obviously it's a situation that's ongoing. I know that Tyson Fury's confirmed that he won't fight for the IBF world title. So we'll have to see what the IBF decide. You know, I think we obviously have to push for our fighter in Filip Hrgovic, as does Sauerland. You know, we co-promote with them and Wasserman. So we're speaking backwards and forwards, and I wait to see if that fight gets made.
See, from a fan perspective, everyone will say, why would you stand in the way of an undisputed fight? But I suppose, is it just very boxing to get worked up about something, whereas in reality it's promoters working for their fighters? Yeah?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Oscar, you know, imagine that you were the fighter and you got a letter saying that you are now in line to face Usyk for the world heavyweight title, and that's your rights. You imagine if I went. Imagine if I
want your
went to
promoter to
Oscar,
back.
I'm really sorry, mate, but there's a few people on social media are telling me that I should just you have to do your job for the fighter. And by the way, we're not willing. You know, we're willing to talk to people about it and try and work things out. But at the same time, you can't just be disrespected and walked over. We have to battle for the rights of Filip Hrgovic, as does Kalla. So that's what we'll do. And, you know, of course we want to see we always want to see big fights and undisputed fights, but we can't ignore the mandatory rotation system of our fighter.
So I know Anthony Joshua's in America at the moment. I know he's been around a few gyms as well. Are we expecting potential training team changes, or is this just kind of him doing his own thing in his own time?
I think just getting ready for training camp and deciding who he's going to add, who he might bring in, you know, and getting that ready. Obviously, once that's secure, we will then confirm his opponent, because we want the training team to be across the opponent's selection as well. Anthony will fight end of March, latest first week of April, and we want him to box 3 times this year. And, you know, we look forward to bringing a big event to the UK with AJ in the spring, and you know, he's out training non-stop. I think the official camp will start literally at the turn of the year, and he'll be ready to bounce back in heavyweight division.
Is it important now that this final training team change, whatever it be, big or small, is kind of the last, and for Anthony Joshua?
You know, AJ's a guy who's always want to keep evolving. So if there's things that he can add to the training camp that are going to develop him as a fighter, that's what he'll do. But at the same time, you know, he wants to get that in place. He wants to make sure he's comfortable. It's very important. And this is a big run for him coming up. You know, this is the run where we believe that we can see him become a 3-time world heavyweight champion. But these next steps are very important.
Do you believe if he was to fight Tyson Fury, as Frank Warren said, it would end in the same manner as Dillian or Derek Chisora?
No, I don't. You know, I've always liked AJ in that fight, but you know, we need to make sure that if you're fighting someone like Tyson Fury, who's an outstanding fighter, that he's 100% ready. And you know, that's the plan, is to get him in training camp, get the correct team behind him to move him forward to become a 3-time world heavyweight champion. Whether that's Tyson Fury, whether that's Deontay Wilder, whether that's Dillian Whyte, whether that's Usyk, whoever it's going to be to go through to get there, he's prepared to do it.
The Deontay Wilder talks, where are they? Did they kind of pick up from potentially where they were, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, however big or small them talks were?
The communication lines are good now between me and Shelley. You know, we've had a lot of talks, a lot of chats. Until the training team is confirmed for AJ, we really won't make any opponent selection, because we want the input of the trainer. So again, we've got 3 or 4 guys that we're talking to and ready to try and make a move for. But at the end of the day, you know, we've got to make sure that the training team are comfortable with that, and that'll be the plan over the next couple of weeks.
In terms of Deontay's team, obviously they'll kind of have their own vision and perhaps a timeline. Are they keen to kind of move things on and not wait on you guys if Joshua's training team situation does roll on?
He's been ordered to fight Andy Ruiz. You know, he's in negotiations with various people to fight Andy Ruiz. So I'm guessing that's what he's going to do next. At the same time, we'd like Dillian Whyte to fight Deontay Wilder in the interim, or you know, AJ in the summer. So we'll have to see. But I think it looks like Wilder will fight Ruiz, and AJ will fight in end of March, April, and Dillian Whyte may fight as well. And I think they're all going to come together in the summer. But obviously, in terms of AJ, we'll do what's right for his career and his development.
It's going to be a serious schedule next year. Have you got any updates on when you could potentially release perhaps a first quarter schedule, first third schedule for next year?
We had a big meeting today on it to talk about our schedule across like 6 or 7 countries. I would like to be in a position to announce the early part of the schedule nearly up to the end of April, really, and maybe even to May. I think it's never really been done before, and that's what we want to try and do. It's very difficult to do that in boxing, but hopefully, I mean, definitely before Christmas, we will have a full schedule for that period to announce.
I'm gonna share something with you that might put me in a very negative light. Yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something. Completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.